Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel, Sampstra Games, Samantha Plays Strategy Games. Today we're going to be talking about an archetype build that I think is quite exciting, called the Searing Blow build. The way the Searing Blow build works is that it's created around the Searing Blow card, which is an uncommon card that costs 2 energy and it deals 12 damage. But the exciting thing is that it can be upgraded any number of times. Starts with a damage of 12, then first time you upgrade it, it increases your damage by 4, then 5, 6, 7. Just to give you an example, if you upgrade it 4 times, you are going to have a damage of 34 for 2 energy. You manage to upgrade it 6 times, you're getting a damage of 51 for 2 energy. You manage to upgrade it 8 times, you're getting 72 damage for 2 energy, which is absolutely huge. But there are a lot of problems with this deck, and I kind of want to mention it at the start, even though we're going to talk about more in the detail at section 4 weaknesses. In order for this to work, you have to upgrade it a lot of times, so you need to get this card at the beginning of Act 1. The best case scenario is if you can get it when you transform a card, when the Neo gives you the reward, so if you can get it there. Or maybe like within the few first fights before the first campfire, essentially, because there are around 3 campfires in Act 1, so if you could get it to a level 3, then it's gonna do 27 damage for 2 energy by the end of Act 1. And then that, together with armaments and stuff, can actually become very, very powerful. So this is a great segue actually to what cards to pick. So there are 2 main cards that you want to pick with the Searing Blow: Armaments and Headbutt. Headbutt is important because what it does is it gives you an attack, and then it lets you pick a card and put it on top of your draw pile. So you can play Searing Blow, then play Headbutt, and take the Searing Blow, put it into your draw pile, so next time you're going to be able to play it again. So this way you can play Searing Blow many times in a row, which is fantastic. The second one is Armaments. What Armaments does, it gives you a block, and then it upgrades a card in your hand. So you can use this to upgrade your Searing Blows inside your combat, which is extremely powerful, because especially if you have a small deck of cards, you're going to be able to draw the armaments with the Searing Blow 2, maybe 3 times during the combat. So you can get from level 5, for example, of the Searing Blow card to level 8 within the combat, which is absolutely amazing. Now, some people are going to tell you that you should upgrade your armaments. I personally disagree with that, and I want to kind of delve into this. What upgraded armament does is that it upgrades every card in your hand, not just one. But the point with the Searing Blow deck of cards is you don't care about upgraded armaments, about upgraded headbutt, about upgraded defenses and strikes. You only want to upgrade your Searing Blow, so you don't want to waste that campfire to upgrade the ornaments that you could have gotten to another level of your Searing Blow card. So I don't think you should upgrade your armament cards, so I think you should only ever upgrade your Searing Blow cards. But if you disagree, I'd love to hear your comments about this, because actually quite a lot of people said that it's a good idea to upgrade the armaments. So I'm curious to what your reasoning to that is, and you know, maybe I'll change my mind, but I think it's better if you don't. There's another fantastic card that you'd like to pick, and that's a Double Tap. What Double Tap does is that the next attack it plays twice. Again, upgraded Double Tap isn't that useful because the next 2 attacks are going to be played twice, but you're most likely not going to be able to play 2 Searing Blows in a turn like this. I mean, theoretically you could if you got like Searing Blow, Headbutt, Battle Trance, but then the second attack would be Headbutt, so that wouldn't work. Double Tap is fantastic because it plays your attack twice. So if you, for example, your Searing Blow does 40 damage, you do 40 damage twice, 80 damage is absolutely huge, especially for like 3 cost energy altogether, 2 for the Searing Blow and 1 for the Double Tap. Another good set of cards are cycling cards. I don't think you should get 2 Searing Blows, even if you can. Because the beauty of the Searing Blow is the fact that you have to upgrade it many times, and you don't want to lose up on the upgrades by splitting it into 2 different cards. So only take 1 Searing Blow cards and build up that one, don't take 2. Or another set of cards that is good to pick with Searing Blow card is something that makes the enemy vulnerable. Either Bash, which you already have from the beginning, which is nice, or Thunderclap. Thunderclap is better because it costs less energy, but depending on what's your strategy, which I'm going to talk about in a moment, you might not want to have that many cards, so it can be a good idea just not to take Thunderclap. The reason again is, for example, Searing Blow on level 5 gives you 42 damage, so level 5 means 5 upgrades. But if your enemy is vulnerable, it actually does 63 damage, which is a huge difference. And especially if you can upgrade it some more with armaments, you can do almost like 100 damage in 1 turn. So making your enemy vulnerable is quite essential. Okay, so what is the strategy now that we know what cards to pick? Well, I would say there are 2 main strategies. One is to create a really small deck of cards, something like 5, 7, 8 cards, something like that, so that you can keep drawing the Searing Blow essentially every turn. That's not always possible. It depends on whether you can get enough good events and stuff. So you always want to keep a small deck of cards, but maybe you'll end up with cards like 18 or 20 or something like that, because you just can't get that low. If you feel like you're probably not going to be able to get to something small like 6 or 8 or 9 cards, then don't be afraid to take 2 headbots, 2, 3 armaments, because it will help you. Especially the headbutts will help you draw the Searing Blow more often, and the armaments will help you make it more powerful. If you can manage to make your deck of cards small enough, it can be actually a great idea to take 1 exhausting card like First, so that you can at least make your deck smaller within the combat. The path is actually very important here. You want to go through as many campfires as you can and as many question marks as you can. The campfires obviously have a priority because campfires are a certain option to upgrade your cards, but question marks often have an option to upgrade your card as well. So first try to find as many campfires on your path as you can, and if you have multiple paths that have the same amount of campfires, then try to pick as many question marks as you can. And on the question mark events, obviously almost always you want to upgrade. Okay, now let's talk about the weaknesses of this build. First of all, you have to get it very quickly. You have to get the Searing Blow at the beginning of Act 1, otherwise it's not worth to build a deck around Searing Blow. Another problem might be that the Searing Blow does not do enough damage. You haven't upgraded it high enough, so it doesn't work the way you need to. Another problem can be multiple enemies, because the Searing Blow only works on 1 enemy, so it might be a fairly big problem if you have too many enemies, even if they have fairly low HP, because it takes you a while to get rid of them. So it might not necessarily be a bad idea to take 1 card that lets you hurt multiple enemies, like Whirlwind or Immolate or something like that, but I don't know. I think it's really questionable. It might be better if you don't take it and just go Searing Blow all the way. Another problem with this deck of cards is like, because you need to keep so many low cards, you don't really have time to defend much, especially because the Searing Blow is fairly expensive as it costs 2 energy. You can have 1 card left to play, and that you would like it usually to be either headbutt or armaments or double tap. So you're essentially using up all your energies for attacks. So you won't have much defense, which can be a problem, especially with the enemies that have like 1 very high attack, because you won't be able to defend at all, and they can hit you for like 50 from 1 get-go. So if you don't have high enough HP, that can be a bit of a problem. Okay, so now let's talk about good relics for this build. There's 1 relic that is absolutely fantastic. It's currently on the beta. I don't think it's on the alpha yet. It's called the Warp Tongues, and what it does is at the start of every turn, it upgrades a random card for the rest of the combat. Okay, every turn for the rest of the combat. Which is absolutely amazing, because if you just happen to get Searing Blow, and I keep in mind that if some other cards are upgraded, it's not going to upgrade him again, so it's going to pick a card that's not upgraded yet, and the Searing Blow can be always upgraded, so you get a fairly nice chance that you might get it on the Searing Blow. So every turn you have a potential possibility of 20% or more if your other cards are upgraded to get a free upgrade of your Searing Blow card. So this is absolutely fantastic. Another good card is Gremlin Horn. What Gremlin Horn does is that if you kill an enemy, it gives you 1 energy and lets you draw a card. This can be very useful because if you can use the Searing Blow to kill somebody, you're gonna get the extra energy, and then you can use Headbutt or something else to defend, or something to fight another enemy. So that is fairly nice. Unseizing Top could be great, especially if you can have a fair amount of cards in your deck. But it's not like completely required for this build to work. You would like to get energy relics as always. Don't take the energy relic that doesn't allow you to smith cards, obviously. Unless you are after the second boss fight and you are going to Act 3 and you feel like in the combats that you had, you feel like you weren't able to survive it by high enough HP, then maybe you can take it because you probably wouldn't be able to smith anyways, because you need to heal. But generally it's not a good relic for this deck of cards. Relics that make your enemy vulnerable are quite great. Orichalcum and Self-Forming Clay would be good, especially Orichalcum. You get some block because you don't really have energy to defend. Ice Cream is fantastic, but it's always fantastic regardless of what deck of cards you have. I feel like this deck isn't like that dependent on relics, in the sense that if you can upgrade your Searing Blow enough times, it's going to be fantastic, almost regardless of which relics you have. And if you don't upgrade it enough times, it's going to be bad, again, almost regardless of which relics you have. Because there aren't that much synergies with relics, in the sense that there are a lot of relics that do stuff if you play at 3 attacks per turn. You're not going to be able to do that unless you have 4 energy, for which you obviously need an energy relic. So I feel like this deck of cards is built and broken based on how many times you upgrade the Searing Blow and potentially how many armaments you have, not necessarily if you can get this or that relic to synergize with that. But the Warp Tongues will be fantastic. Okay, so what is my review of this deck of cards? I personally have to say I love it, especially like you have been watching 2 videos the whole time, and one of them is a regular playthrough where I got the Searing Blow fairly early. The other one is a custom game where I created my own deck of cards, and one of them was the Searing Blow card, and you can see there that I could like upgrade it for like 10 times, 12 times, and it's just so fun because you have like this one card that does this absolutely huge damage, especially if your enemy is vulnerable, which is like, it's just huge. So that's a lot of fun. The problem with this deck of cards is that in order to work, you have to really get it quickly, and you have to smith on every campfire on Act 1. You can't heal on Act 1. If you, well, I mean, okay, you can heal once, but essentially you shouldn't heal on Act 1. If you need to heal on Act 1, this deck of cards is not going to work for you. You need to upgrade it. There's one thing I really like about this deck of cards, and that's the fact that because you need to get it so early in Act 1, you don't have to kind of guess or commit to a build without knowing if you can get this build, because that's a problem with like sometimes like you're picking certain cards because maybe you got, I don't know, you got Corruption and you're really hoping that you can go for an Exhaust build with Feel No Pain and Dark Embrace and stuff like that. But then you find out that you actually don't get Feel No Pain or Dark Embrace, so you have this Corruption card and you can't do much of anything. But this deck of cards doesn't work like that. You're either gonna get Searing Blow soon enough to know, okay, I'm building my deck around this, or you don't get it soon enough and you know, okay, I don't really care about this card, I'm not gonna build my stuff around it, it doesn't matter. So this is really nice that if you're committing to the Searing Blow build, you already have the card. You don't have to kind of guess or hope that you get this or that card for some combo. And like I said, it can be very fun. You can of course die if you don't have enough defense. That's the problem with every offensive build. I wouldn't say that it's like a guarantee win. If you can upgrade it enough time, yeah, then it can be a guarantee win, but you're not always certain about that. But it's definitely very satisfying when it works, and it's very exciting.